to present these to you, you and your wife, one of each, so you can go around the world, bring peace and joy to the people.
This is very symbolic for us.
So Dan, thanks for coming down today, for bringing the drums.
No, thank you for having me. Yeah.
I know they mean a lot to everybody, and First Nations drums are something very sacred, and the people who are going to be using those drums will use them in a very sacred way. First of all, as you know, often we give drums to First Nations friends and people who are going to then paint on them. This was last year done by a really close friend of mine, Gilbert Redbird. He's Ojibwe, Ojibwe from Ontario. And then sometimes we find some very, very gifted musicians who are carrying out a peace message and a message of friendship. And those we will also give the drums to. And I know that today, John, Kelly, and Maite, Itoiz, whom we presented those drums to, felt very honored. And the one thing I do know for sure, these drums are going to go to very good use in terms of bringing joy to the world and making people happy and laugh, and that's very important these days.
Yes, it was very nice meeting the Basque people. It's my first time.
It was for me last year, first time too. When I met John and Maite, I realized they were very special people, which is why I was really hoping you could do drums and we could present those to them, because out of that we will see a nice collaboration coming together with First Nations musicians who are also going to join us soon, but First Nations drums in this case, and on the other hand, of course, John and Maite. And Maite being Basque, and we talked about this. 500 years ago, there was a connection between the Mi'kmaq and the Basque people. The Basque people came over here hunting whales, and of course the Mi'kmaq didn't really do that, so a lot of friendships became of this. There was no competition of any kind, and from what I gather, Mi'kmaq people went over to Basque country, and some of the Basque stayed here. This is 500 years ago, and it's nice that today we can make this connection again.
Yes, after 500 years, we're all together again.
I think it's important.
Yeah, it's very important.
I'm learning a lot from you, Dan, because as you know, I'm not a First Nations person, but I really respect very highly all First Nations people, and I live and learn from everybody every day. Today you were saying that the drums, when people play your drums, it's really like the sound of Mother Earth, heart beating. Yeah,
it's like when you beat it, it's like prayer from your heart. You pray for the goodness of the world, the people, the sick, and the dying.
Of course.
You have to pray for them and chant, beat the drum.
Yes.
And sing. And if you get into a bind or something, like you get stuck or something, and do a little bit of a protest or anything, you beat on the drum.
Right.
Walk on the road, beat the drum, and pray while you're walking. And then eventually your prayer will be answered.
Yeah, I agree that, and what I like about this very much, you talked about protest, and I think First Nations people have every right to protest about many things in the world.
Actually, it's not really protest, but against it. They're against the country and the earth being destroyed. They don't want that.
That's exactly what I mean in terms of protest. But what I like about that is there's such a peaceful message. If you pray and sing and play the drum, you make people aware of problems that Mother Earth has, because mankind has created such problems. But yet it's being done in a peaceful way, and I think that's so important to have such a peaceful message. And the drums are a perfect medium to convey this.
It's not about violence.
Exactly,
or anything.
exactly.
Just a peaceful way of sending messages.
I asked you before how you kind of got into making drums, and your reply was most interesting.
Yeah.
Would you maybe want to repeat that?
It just came to me, the urge comes from like, it's in my blood, like, and I just had to help out my people and make some drums in case anybody wants them, to use them to pray and talk about the goodness of the earth and not to destroy the ground, the water, as water is important. Water brings us life. When you're born, your mother's water burst, and you're there.
That's right.
And when you come alive, you need water.
Yes.
You need water. Water is very important. So we have to protest against people destroying our water, like poisoning it, contaminating it. And so, in the ground, and too much pollution. So, it's not like a violent thing to do. Just go beat on a drum and pray.
You're raising awareness. I agree with you.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons why we're Friends United also. I spoke to many of the artists the last few months, and I said, we have always tried to convey messages of peace and friendship. And thank you for joining our team, because the other artists are thrilled to have you on board also.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
And I think it's important we can tell these messages to future generations, because we have to raise awareness. For thousands of years, people spoke of the four elements: the water, earth, Mother Earth, obviously,
The animals.
the sun, you know, the sun being so important, and the air. If we do pollute the air, and if we pollute the water, and if we constantly drill into Mother Earth and we just exploit, then at some point in time, things are going to collapse. And I see even now more and more the world already. Some people are very greedy, they try to get it all, others suffer, and there's so much.
The earth is fighting back.
Yes, that's right.
We can see that. A lot of earthquakes, tornadoes, and fire, everything that's not good for the human, because we made it happen. Like, so we try to prevent it.
Yes.
And stop the destruction.
Every time I'm sitting and I'm talking to First Nations artists and First Nations friends and more people coming on board, I learn so much. David Brooks, an artist who passed away 3 years ago, taught me a lot about First Nations art and culture and heritage, and he was a very dear friend. Sandra Simon, another artist who was from Paktenkek, she passed away 2 years ago. She was crafting beautiful quill baskets, and I think she would, of course, make the quill baskets from porcupine quills, but also from trees, the tree bark and the sweetgrass. And she told me when she was taking bark of the birch tree, she was actually praying for it. And I think that is the thing, we need to have that respect.
And what you do is when you take anything from the earth, you give an offering.
You do.
Tobacco.
Yes.
Give an offering.
Yes.
4 directions.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think that's where people can learn so much from First Nations people, because often now it's just about taking everywhere is for profit. The giving has to be there, and people should give not even to expect anything back in return, That's what I always like about Friends
Yes.
United here. Many people come on board and nobody expects anything of anybody. People come
Yeah.
voluntarily, do things, enjoy themselves, come together in the spirit of friendship. And it's nice to see, of course, that it has made many First Nations artists, ambassadors, cultural ambassadors for Canada, and they make a much better living at whatever they do with art, and that's nice. But they're making people aware of all the problems that Mother Earth has.
Yes.
And so we were saying about 10
And
years
you
ago.
don't take too much.
Yes,
Just
that's right.
what you
Yes,
need.
Yes, yes.
What you need from Mother Earth.
Yeah.
Fish, when you catch fish, you give offering.
Yes.
When you catch a moose, you give offering. You know, everything you do, you give offering.
You're right.
If you see an eagle feather on the ground, you don't pick it up until after you give offering. And then you can take it.
Yes.
And never kill anything unnecessary. If you're not hungry, if you're not going to eat it, don't bother it, don't kill it or anything.
Yeah. See, I think talks like these are important for future generations, but almost like a guideline even for politicians running countries.
That's what we were told as we were kids, say, growing up.
Yes.
The stories they tell us, so we try to pass it on. And a lot of times, older people would pass something on to me, like, and it's very interesting, like to learn. Maybe 400 or 500 years ago, they used to do, and then share it with my children and some people, and try to teach them how to speak their language. As a lot of them are losing their language now.
I know.
Yeah.
When I came from Germany years ago, I finally found out about residential schools. I had no idea what they were.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, Germany has a very bad part in history too.
Yeah.
But what I found out here in Canada from roughly 1890 to 1960, there were these residential schools, and David Brooks, who happened to be in one of them, told me that when they spoke Mi'kmaq, they would wash their mouth out with soap because they said it was a dirty language, or they would beat them and whatnot. And so they try to completely eliminate, eradicate this culture. And I'm glad that things are coming back.
Yeah.
And you are a big part of that. I mean, you're at your age and you have the wisdom. You can teach certain things from your youth, and the teaching, but also the drums will be there a long time after we're all gone. These drums can last for a long time. And that's why we all appreciate you making these drums, because the music that will be made with those will be in a very spiritual way, and in a way to still raise awareness of the problem that we have these days in terms of peace and pollution everywhere.
Number one, you got to respect your drum, like, you know, it's have something to cherish forever.
Yes.
Until another time.
You were saying before, when somebody plays the drum, the eagles fly above you.
Yes,
It has a meaning.
If you are kind-hearted and really mean it from your heart, like you're praying, and then if they think that you're really praying to the spirits and the Mother Earth, they'll come down, and then they'll answer your
prayer.
Your prayer, that's what it is. Yeah. And sometimes when they have a powwow, there's a middle like arbor, it's a great big drum. They will beat on it and pray, chant and pray. And sometimes people that are dancing around, they're praying. Every dance they do, they're praying. And sometimes the spirits will answer your prayers to some of these people. Every eagle that comes around, one prayer is answered. Two
Grandfather Eagle, yes, I think Grandfather Eagle has a very sacred, special meaning. And I photograph a lot of eagles, and they're very majestic animals.
Yes, the messengers.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
Yeah.
Jay Barrett told me. And actually, Jay's from the eagle clan. That's why he
Okay,
paints
yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
eagles. You met Jay before, and Jay is again the artist who painted on here.
Yeah.
He asked before drums. He did paint on, I think, 6 of your drums. This is just one of them.
Okay.
But I thought it was very special work.
Yeah.
Jay's a very talented artist, but he's also like a brother to me. He's always full of peace, has the heart in the right spot, is trying to help people. It's just very nice.
It's very nice. I met him today.
You met him today.
Yes.
So I hopefully we're going to see you here more often in the future, simply because
I
we would
hope so,
love
yeah.
to hear more of your teachings and your wisdom, and we would love to see more drums.
Yes.
And same thing for Shirley, your wife, who's also a very good artist.
Yeah.
Please come down anytime.
Yeah. Just call, and we'll be here.
We'll do that. Thanks, Dan.
Oh, thank you very much.
All right.
Well, I'll enjoy them.
Yeah,
So,
I thank you too.
yeah, it was wonderful.
Well done.
Well,